Hey, welcome to the Press Box Chronicles with Jeff Pearlman. Hey, welcome to the Press Box Chronicles with Jeff Pearlman, the show where a cranky middle-aged sports writer, that is me, who has seen it all, takes you behind the scenes and into the stories. I am your host, Jeff Pearlman. And I've been waiting to do this episode more than any episode in the history of this show, the brief history of the show. This episode is going to be the equivalent of someone taking this baseball bat and slamming it against my head an infinite number of times. It is the equivalent of setting my hands and feet on fire and watching me burn. It is the equivalent of feeding me raw maggots, followed by dead ants, followed by someone else's vomit. This is the story of what it is to be a fan of the New York Jets. And I just want to say before we get going here, I want to take you back in time to the Lord's year of 1979. I'm 7 years old, living in Mahopac, New York. My brother David is 9 years old. We are sitting around the kitchen table one day at 24 Emerald Lane. And my brother, for reasons I do not understand, says, I'm going to be a New York Giants fan. And I'm 7, so I say, oh, I'm going to be a New York Jets fan. My brother is now 55 years old. He has not watched a single NFL game. Maybe he was at a Super Bowl party. He would not recognize Lawrence Taylor. He wouldn't recognize Eli Manning or Tiki Barber or Saquon Barkley. He knows nothing about the New York Giants. He does not. From that moment, he said, I'm going to be a Giants fan. He has not thought about the New York Giants one single time. Meanwhile, I've been a Jet fan for the entirety of my life, beginning at age 7 till now, sitting here at age 53. And it was, without question, the worst decision of my life. So I have a friend dating back to the University of Delaware named Michael J. Lewis, not to be confused with Moneyball Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis is a journalist. He's a longtime tennis writer. He's a great guy. And when I met him, I was a senior at Delaware. He was a freshman. He came up to write for the student newspaper, The Review, and he was wearing a ridiculous jet pendant, kind of like this logo, around his neck. And from that day forward, Michael Lewis has been sending me, during the football season, regular messages of pain and defeat and self-loathing. And I want to play one of them now. And I'm going to ask my lovely producer if we could play this to her, maybe a soothing image of some puppies or some rainbows or some clouds, so you can get the full impact of what Michael Lewis says every week when I talk to him.
Pearlman, every year they do this to me. Every stinking year. Playing the Bengals, down 14-3, driving late first half, 3rd and 9, and they run the ball. Because they're stupid. It never changes. It never, ever, ever changes. They change coaches. They change colors of their uniform. They change players. It's all the same. Drives me nuts. 40 years I've been watching this shit. 40 years and it has not changed. Another losing season down the drain. Another year. Another new coach probably needed. Ugh, why do I do this to myself? Why do I do this to myself? Why do I watch this every week and watch this crap, this terrible team that never gets any better? All right, call me. Bye.
His anguish and his pain are no exaggerations. Being a Jet fan sucks. It's worse than being a fan of any other franchise. And for me, I think the first time I realized being a Jet fan would suck was heading into the 1980 NFL draft, when the New York Jets had 2 first-round picks, and they traded them to the San Francisco 49ers so they could move up to number 2 in the NFL draft. And with the number 1 pick, the Detroit Lions picked the Heisman Trophy winner, Billy Sims out of Oklahoma. Great running back. Would have been a Hall of Famer if he never got hurt. And with the number 2 pick, the New York Jets selected a wide receiver out of Texas, Johnny Lamb Jones. And when he was drafted, Johnny Lamb Jones said to New York's Daily News, I was kind of surprised I was drafted that early. And he had good reason to be surprised he was drafted that early. On the bright side, Johnny Lamb Jones was a gold medalist in the 1976 Olympics in the 4x400 relay. He ran a 4.340. He was super fast. As a senior at Texas, he caught 36 balls, 535 yards. On the downside, I don't think the Jets ever asked him to catch a football or run a route because he did neither well. And it became apparent very, very early in Johnny Lamb Jones's time with the Jets that he was not a good NFL wide receiver. And making it worse is the next pick in the draft, number 3 overall, the Cincinnati Bengals took Anthony Munoz, the offensive lineman out of USC. And the only reason the Jets didn't draft Munoz, who they actually wanted, is because he failed a physical with the team. So the Jets take Lamb Jones. Anthony Munoz goes to the Bengals, and he goes on to his Hall of Fame career. Making matters even worse is at number 18, the Washington then Redskins take Art Monk, a wide receiver out of Syracuse, who has what should be a Hall of Fame career. And to be a Jet fan is to know the shit stain that is a franchise that has drafted worse than anyone ever. And I really mean that, anyone ever. 1981, we take Freeman McNeil, running back out of UCLA. Great. One pick earlier, the Giants took Lawrence Taylor. Okay. 1982, Bob Crable, linebacker from Notre Dame. Not great, not terrible. 1983, for Jet fans, especially Jet fans who date back to the 80s. How would I even describe this? 1983 to Jet fans is like when you have really bad diarrhea and there's not a bathroom for miles and you just shit yourself. In 1983, the year of the quarterback, okay? The year John Elway went number 1, Jim Kelly went, Todd Blackledge went, Tony Eason went. We're heading late in the draft, and the Jets have the 24th pick overall. And sitting there is Dan Marino from Pitt. Dan Marino with the quickest release anyone has ever seen. Dan Marino with the power arm. Dan Marino, who played at a big school, Pitt, who played in some serious bowl games. Yeah, there were rumors about drug use, but they are unsubstantiated rumors. And at the draft in New York, people are psyched because the Jets are about to end the nightmare of having Richard Todd as their quarterback, and they're going to draft Dan Marino. And P. Rozelle, the commissioner, walks to the microphone, and he says, the New York Jets select quarterback Ken O'Brien out of Cal Davis. Who the fuck is Ken O'Brien? Who is Ken O'Brien? Nobody knows who Ken O'Brien is. Meanwhile, the Dolphins wind up getting Dan Marino, and the Dolphins, of course, and the Jets are rivals. And Ken O'Brien actually winds up being a good, solid NFL quarterback who holds the ball for way too long. And Dan Marino goes on to be legend. And it sets an egregious draft blunder that the next few years are actually overlooked. But in 1984, the Jets have the 10th overall pick, and they take a defensive back, Russell Carter, who comes and goes. And with the very next pick, the Chicago Bears take a linebacker, Wilbur Marshall, out of Florida, who's one of the greats of the era. 1985, the New York Jets seem to get it right. They draft Al Toon, a wide receiver out of Wisconsin. Al Toon is great, but has a history of concussions. Maybe we should measure this. No, Jets take Al Toon. 6 picks later, the San Francisco 49ers take Jerry Rice. So we could have theoretically, in some alt universe, had Dan Marino throwing to Jerry Rice in Jet uniforms. In 1986, the Jets take a shitty offensive lineman named Mike Haight. In 1987, they draft a fullback in the first round. Who drafts a fullback in the first round of an NFL draft? They take Michael Vick out of Texas A&M. 1 pick later, the 49ers get Harris Barton, all-time great. Bruce Armstrong goes to the Patriots. 2 picks later, all-time great. And number 35, Christian Okoye, running back, Azusa Pacific, goes to the Chiefs, all-time great. 1988, the Jets, I hope you see my anger, by the way. 1988, the Jets draft Dave Cadigan, an offensive lineman out of USC with the 8th pick. Michael Irvin goes 11th. Randall McDaniel, another offensive lineman, goes to the Vikings at 19th. And my favorite, least favorite came in 1989. This is the Jets in a nutshell. In 1989, the Jets used the 14th pick overall to take Jeff Lageman, a defensive end out of Virginia. And leading up to the draft, literally nobody has Jeff Lageman going in the first round. And when I say literally nobody, I mean nobody. Even Jeff Lageman knows he's not going in the first round. And he is shocked when the Jets call him and pick him 14th overall. And the crazy thing is, and the weird thing is, Jeff Lageman winds up being a really good NFL player. But the Jets could have gotten him 2 rounds later. And in this same draft, you have Steve Atwater going 20th. You have Andre Rison going 22nd. There was no reason to take Jeff Lageman this high. Even if you have him as the best player on your board, no one else does. And you think, oh, wow, well, that's as bad as it's going to get. In 1990, the New York Jets have the second pick overall. And everyone is saying you need a running back. And the best running back in the draft is Blair Thomas out of Penn State. So the Jets draft Blair Thomas out of Penn State. And I remember my neighbor down the street, Mailpack, this kid, Matt Walker, quickly bought a Blair Thomas Jets t-shirt that he's wearing all over. And we are convinced Blair Thomas is going to be amazing. Well, Blair Thomas sucks. And later on in that draft, who do the Dallas Cowboys select? Emmitt Smith, 17th overall. In 1992, we take a tight end, Johnny Mitchell, out of Nebraska. One pick later, the Raiders get a Pro Bowler, Chester McLaughlin. In 1995, we take Kyle Brady, a tight end out of Penn State. The fans are literally chanting, "We want Sapp. We want Sapp," for Warren Sapp. But no, why would the Jets take a good player when they can take Kyle Brady, another tight end? It is on and on. And you might think, wow, that sucks. Being a Jet fan, the drafts are awful. Well, good news. The games are even worse. So against all odds of humanity, there have been requests about a t-shirt and a hat. So I bring to you the Press Box Chronicles t-shirt and hat. Hat is a snapback. T-shirt is cool. They're available. Did I ever think in my career I'd be selling a t-shirt with my name on it? I did not, but things are surprising in this world. If you hit the link in the description of this video or you head to our TikTok shop, Press Box Chronicles, you can grab yours today. Support the podcast and you can look like this doing it. Thank you always for helping and the support and the interest in the show. It means a lot to me. Thank you. So if you don't get it fully, I just want to reemphasize, being a Jet fan sucks. There's no worse fandom in sports. There's really no worse fandom in sports. And the weird thing is, people have said to me through the years, well, why don't you just don't be a Jet fan? Root for a different team. Adopt the Chiefs or adopt the Titans or adopt the Giants. And it's like, if you're born with herpes, it's really hard to get rid of herpes. And I feel like the Jets are herpes. Like you just can't. You would feel like a loser and a sellout. And it's almost like the pain, the pronounced pain, the awfulness becomes a part of you, almost like a disease that you can't get rid of. Not a disease that's going to kill you, not a fatal disease, but a really bad disease. And I think from a on-field standpoint, the first time I realized, wow, this is going to be a rough life for me, is January 23rd, 1983, Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. And the Jets have reached the AFC Championship game, and they're playing the Miami Dolphins. And the Jets are really good. They've rolled through the playoffs. Richard Todd is a good quarterback at this point. Freeman McNeil is a great running back, one of the good Jet draft picks. They have one wide receiver, Wesley Walker, amazingly blind in one eye in a very Jet way, but a great wide receiver. They have Lamb Jones, who I'm too young and dumb to know at this point that he's not very good. Mickey Schuler's a great tight end. They have a defense with Mark Gastineau and Joe Klecko. And I'm like, wow, Jets, one game away from the Super Bowl. Well, the Jets go to Miami, and the game starts at 12:40 in the afternoon, and there's 67,000 people packed in this stadium. The day before the game, according to rumor, according to gossip, according to Jet players, according to Jet officials, the Dolphins, knowing it was going to pour outside, didn't cover the field. And when the players show up for the game, the field is mud soup. And the Dolphins at the time were quarterbacked by a guy, David Woodley, mediocre quarterback. They had yet to have the Mark Duper, Mark Clayton thing going. They weren't high flying. They were kind of a grinded out football team. The Jets, meanwhile, all their guys were cutters and slashers and speed. So on this muddy muck of a field, the Dolphins beat the Jets 14-0. Richard Todd, our quarterback, throws 5 interceptions, including 3 to a linebacker I'd never before heard of named AJ Dewey. It's a horrible, 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 horrible game for the Jets. Teams combined for 9 turnovers, 19 punts, just 437 total yards. The game sucks. The Jets lose. Now, I will admit, at the time I was 10 years old. I thought, oh, Jets will be back. Jets will be back. No, the Jets always suck. They'll never be back. 3 years later, 1986, the Jets are really good for a while. I think they started the season maybe 10-0 or 9-1, and then they lost 6 in a row. But they made the playoffs as a 10-6 team, and they're playing the Cleveland Browns in a divisional game. And it's late in this game, and the Jets are winning 20-10 in Cleveland, and the Browns are facing a second down and 24 from their own 18-yard line. And Mark Gastineau, our defensive lineman, number 99, a great pass rusher, but a man with an IQ of 6 on a football field, throws down Bernie Kosar to the ground, is charged with roughing the passer. The Browns get new life. They score, and the Jets lose. And it's like, wow, we can't have nice things. 1994, November 27th, 1994. Jets are leading 17-0 over the Miami Dolphins with Dan Marino, the quarterback who should have been theirs. It's late in the game now, 24-21. Jets are leading. Dolphins have the ball at the Jets' 8-yard line. They only have one timeout left. Dan Marino, quarterback. Wide receiver, Mark Ingram. Marino yells to Ingram, clock, 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 and motions that he's going to spike the ball down to stop the clock. The Jets defense, all of them, relax. Marino takes the snap, fakes the spike, throws to Ingram. Wow, Aaron Glenn, the quarterback for the Jets, who's now our freaking coach, fails to cover. Dolphins win the game. It is on and on and on, this kind of stuff. December 12th, 2010, a Jet coach sticks his leg onto the field and trips a Miami Dolphins player. We just have a ceaseless, bizarre history of misery. January 17th, I can just do this all day. January 17th, 1999, Jets make the AFC title game. They're winning 10-0, beating the Broncos. Halftime of this game, they win, they go to the Super Bowl. Of course, they blow it. Terrell Davis runs all over them. Bill Belichick is supposed to be our coach. January 4th, 2000, he's going to take over for Bill Parcells. He writes on a napkin that he's not taking the job, and the Jets don't have a coach. Meanwhile, Bill Belichick goes to the Patriot. Like, it's an endless string of awfulness. And the craziest thing of all is through all of that shit, through all of the nightmare, through all of the tragedy, the two worst moments were waiting for me. And they were worse than anything any football fan will ever go through. And I'll break those down after this. So I would actually say right now, sitting here for the first time ever doing this show, I feel actual anger. I haven't really thought about the collective nightmare of the Jets, not in this way until right now. And it's infuriating. It's actually infuriating. I could have been a Giants fan. My fucking brother, who doesn't even care about the Giants, who won't even watch this episode, does not care about sports, decided he's a Giants fan. And here I sit with this stupid hat, with this ugly logo, with these bad colors, a Jet fan. And you always thought it was bad. Like me, my Jet fan friends, we would complain and whine. It can't get worse than this. It can't get worse than this. We could have had Belichick as our coach. We had Rich Kotite as our coach. We drafted Keyshawn when Terrell Owens went later. Like on and on and on. All these things. And you think it can't get worse. It can't. There's nothing that can be worse than what we've been through as a Jet fan. Well, now it's November 22nd, 2012. And if you're a Jet fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're at MetLife Stadium. There's 79,000 fans here to see the Jets and the Patriots. It's a primetime TV audience, 20 million people. And the Jets quarterback is a kid we drafted 5th overall out of USC named Mark Sanchez. And Mark Sanchez was a second quarterback picked in a draft that also saw Matthew Stafford, of course, go somewhere else. And Sanchez is okay, but he's not great. And in this game, Mark Sanchez drops back, starts to run with the ball, and collides with the ass of offensive lineman Brandon Moore. Fumbles the ball. It's recovered by Steve Gregory, the Patriots safety, who returns it for a touchdown. And this is forever known as the butt fumble. And there have been some memorably bad plays in New York sports history. In particular, when Giants quarterback Joe Pisarcik went to hand off to Larry Zonka and Herm Edwards picked it up and ran it in for the Eagles to win a game. Like, that was bad. But the butt fumble was everything that it is to be a New York Jet fan in one little moment. Like, the butt fumble is it. And I thought, wow, so this is it. This is the low. We've hit the low. But 11 years later, it's September 11th, 2023. And we have Aaron Rodgers as quarterback for the Jets. And as soon as Aaron Rodgers steps onto the field, he's the best, most accomplished quarterback in Jet history. If you think about it, we had Ken O'Brien, we had Chad Pennington, we had Vinny Testaverde, we had Joe Namath, we had Brett Favre. We had some good quarterbacks in our day. We had Ray Lucas and Browning Nagel. We had some bad quarterbacks in our day. But here's Aaron Rodgers, Mount Rushmore quarterback, and he's a Jet. And this team has something. Like, this team has a lot of talent. Breece Hall, rookie running back, really good. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, really good. There's a lot going on here. And it's September 11th, 2023, and Jet fans are genuinely thinking cautiously about the Super Bowl. We have our quarterback. And it's the fourth snap of the game, and Aaron Rodgers tears his Achilles, dropping back. And he's replaced by Zach Wilson. And that's it. That's what it is to be a Jet fan. More than the butt fumble. More than drafting Blair Thomas over Emmitt Smith or Ken O'Brien over Dan Marino. More than taking Jeff Lageman 2 rounds too early. More than taking Johnny Mitchell and Kyle Brady. More than taking Roger Vick, a fullback. What it is to be a Jet fan is believing Aaron Rodgers is the answer to your problems and watching him collapse to the turf 4 plays into the season. And you just realize at that moment, it's never fucking happening. The New York Jets will never win anything. They're going to be bad this year. They'll be bad next year. I'm 53. When I'm 106, they're still going to suck. It just isn't meant to be. And I think back to being a kid, and I think back to sitting around that table, and I think back to my brother, and I ask myself sometimes, why wasn't I adopted? That's a wrap for this torturous episode of Press Box Chronicles with Jeff Pearlman. Leave a comment below on what stories you'd like to hear more about, or if there's a sports figure who would interest you. Do me a favor, please make sure you like and subscribe and follow me on TikTok at Jeff Pearlman Author and Bluesky at Jeff Pearlman. Thank you so much for diving behind the scenes and digging into the stories. We'll see you next time on Press Box Chronicles.